To start a recording. Let's start with a word of prayer. God, thank you for this day. Thank you for the opportunity to meet together to talk about your school, your students, and the people that you've brought together to be part of this softball program this year. We're grateful for Grand Rapids Christian, and we pray that you put a blessing on our coaches and our families in the season as we enter it this spring. Thanks again, and we're grateful that you are the most important part of our lives. In your name we pray. Amen. Well, thank you for being here. Those of you who don't have your cameras on, if it's possible to have them on, it's really helpful for me, just as a person who's doing speaking and communicating, to know that, if I can see your feedback, I kind of like that. So if it's possible and you're not driving a car or something like that, of course, it's great to have it on. So thank you for being here. This year we have 18 people signed up to participate in softball, which is a very good and healthy number for us. At the same time, it poses a few issues because it's hard to play 18 people in every softball game, especially when it's hard to determine how many innings we're going to get to play based on the level of pitching or hitting that's out there. So, we're going to discuss some of those things today. We're going to talk a little bit about sixth grade and how that's going to work, because we have a handful of sixth graders, and certainly they have a handful of years left in the program where seventh and eighth graders do not. So we have six sixth graders at this time. And so it's important for us to talk about how all of that is going to work together. So thank you for being here to discuss that. Our goal with Grcms Christian Athletics is obviously to put Christ on display through the sport of softball, and to make sure that we're providing opportunities for kids to learn and to grow, to make mistakes, to find success, all of those things. And so, we hope that this season can be rich in that sense, where they can learn the skills and the abilities, the strategy, the gameplay, and hopefully through that process, the fun and also the challenging parts of that, and the disappointments that we'll find as well, are all part of that good experience. And so we're grateful for the opportunity to do that. The way we're going to form the team is it's very difficult to have 18 players in each game. So what we're going to do for our games is we're largely going to slant. Coach and I have kind of talked about this, towards the seventh and eighth graders to play in every game, because we're in a seventh and eighth grade league. Okay, so that's kind of something that we have to take into account. Is in the past we've needed sixth graders to complete our roster. Like, we had 9 seventh and eighth graders, and we needed the 4 sixth graders to make a difference. And I love that our sport is growing, and energy for this sport is growing. We have a wonderful coach and program at the high school level that we're trying to get more and more girls to participate in this. And so we're grateful that you're here. And so we want to include everyone. And so the way we're going to do that is he's going to kind of, like last year, use a handful of those sixth graders in each game. Okay. So we have 12 seventh and eighth graders. And so the goal would be to kind of have a couple of sixth graders be in the lineup on those days. It will be clearly defined. So, if you're not going to play, you don't necessarily have to come to the game as a sixth grader. But we want you to know like which games you'll be in. So coach will communicate that. The other thing is we really want to make sure that we are doing our best at practice to give every person reps. Now, with 18 players, coach was talking about, we're going to have a lot more live scrimmaging happening, and a lot more opportunities for the girls to play game-like situations, because we'll be able to put two teams out there in our practices. So we're going to get some game opportunities there, but also we'll try to do a lot with our skill development and breaking into kind of smaller groups. We have about 4 coaches that are going to help us. Darren's on here. He's going to help us out a little bit. Mayford is on here. He's going to help us out a little bit. And then Ellie Vandegreen, who's a graduate of Grand Rapids Christian softball program, she's going to be coaching, brings a lot of experience to the table. Also, so a younger athlete, and so we're really excited to have her around. And then Kent Friends as well will be back leading the team. So with 4 coaches at most of our practices, we should be able to get a lot of repetitions for a lot of kids, and also get some gameplay in each time. So the team is going to be large in number, but in game formats, we're going to shrink that a little bit and try to get every sixth grader, some game opportunities as much as we can. But obviously, as sixth graders, you're getting introduced to this. So you'll have 2 more years where you're kind of the main feature, and an opportunity to kind of get ahead of the game here and get some extra reps, which I think is pretty cool. Um, any questions about kind of the concept of that? It's not concrete yet because coach has to see the skill levels of all of the players to know how to plug them in on a game to game basis to make sure that they're getting quality reps against proper teams. Like some of the teams we play are high school level good, and we don't want to put new sixth graders against someone who's throwing 60 miles an hour, ready to be the varsity pitcher in about 2 or 3 months. So, we also want to, protect kids in that sense as well. So there's a lot of those things to gauge. And so coach does a great job with it. We've been doing this for about 2 or 3 years now in this way. And so it'll kind of work the same way. Does anybody have a question before we move on to some more of the details of the season with that philosophy in place? Okay. Well, if you think of something, certainly just unmute yourself and ask. You're not going to interrupt me. I'm not going to be frustrated about that. So just feel free to ask. Transportation. So we're going to practice all of our practices once we get outside at Gainey Athletic Complex, which is 1661 East Paris Avenue. Many of you are familiar with that. Sixth graders, if you are not, it's kind of over by MVP on Burton and East Paris over there. And so you can look that up. But Gainey Athletic Complex, we have a softball field there that we will practice at. The practices are typically 5:30 to 7 p.m. or 5 to 6:30. Coach will kind of decide based on the schedules of the coaches that are helping him what the best start time is, and he'll make sure that that's communicated very clearly. But there is no transportation from our school at that time of day in any way. So you'll have to, the kids will come home after school, be able to do some homework, eat some dinner, and then kind of get them to the field at that time at 5:30 at Gainey. So that's where all of our home games will be played as well. And we will play those at Gainey. Okay. The practice schedules, like I said, are pretty consistent with the time and the days. And he'll schedule those around our game schedule that week, which is still being confirmed and created. We are lucky to have, I think, three other teams in our Graciac leagues. We'll be able to play a double header against each one of those, which is great. And then I've got a double header against Kelloggsville, a double header against Potter's House, and a single game against somebody else as well. So we've got a variety of people will be competing against this year. Um, and so that's really good too. So the game schedules are getting close to being finished, and those will be added to Team Snap as well. Any questions about practice or transportation to Gainey? Transportation to games will be parents as well. Those are usually 5 o'clock starts. Our double headers will sometimes start a little earlier if we can, but typically we do five and like a 6:30 or 6:45 start for the second game, if possible. So we try to do it a little later to make sure that parents can get people where they need to go as best we can. But some of the schools we play have like a requirement that they must play at 4 p.m. So their doubleheader is 4 and 6 or something like that. So you'll see it all on the schedule. Hopefully have enough time to plan for those nuances. Okay. Any questions about that? Okay. Um, Playing time. So we've talked a little bit about kind of defining clearly who will be in the lineup on a given day. Um, and was as far as playing time is concerned, typically the goal is to get 2 innings in the field and an at bat, right? Like that's the main goal is we try to get every person that's at the game that day or assigned to be at the game that day those opportunities. Now, the hard thing with baseball, softball is you can't predict like basketball how many innings there's going to be in a game. You can't predict how efficient the pitcher is, right? And if there's lots of pitches for every at bat, or if they're just throwing strikes and the game's moving real quick, right? Like so when the game moves quick, it's easy to get innings, it's easy to get at bats. When the game moves slowly, it's really hard to predict because at a certain time frame, that game can't go any longer. And so Dan knows this quite well from coaching baseball for all these years. The coaches stress out about getting the kids these opportunities, and sometimes it's a little bit out of their control. And so they're going to do their very best to hit those marks for all of the kids, especially with like double headers. It's kind of nice to have double headers. If it didn't work out quite right in the first game, you can certainly do that in the second game a little bit better. But it is a challenging thing, and these coaches have to deal with that. Where basketball, we know there's 32 minutes in the seventh and eighth grade game. We know that everybody has to play at least six. It's really easy to plan for that. A little different in like a volleyball or a baseball or softball type situation. So hopefully that makes sense. Like every girl that plays should get an at bat in at least 2 innings. In some of our games, they if you're back, they might only be 4 innings just based on the speed of the game. Uh, so, it does get challenging. Okay. But the coaches work very hard to make sure that who's ever there is going to get those opportunities. And hopefully we can beat that, right? The goal is always to give kids more playing time if possible. Yep. So that's kind of about playing time. Spectators, obviously, I don't believe there's a gate at anywhere that we go. There are going to be some umpires at these games, of course, with a varying degree of ability and experience. And one thing that we can do, I can't tell you how hard it is for me to find umpires that are even willing to do it. Most of them are gentlemen that are quite a bit older, and they've been doing it forever, and they're willing to keep doing it. We have very few people like me that are 43 years old that are just loving putting themselves into officiating these days, largely because of the way that the fans and the coaches treat them. They love the students, and that's why they do it, but they really don't like the parents treating them a certain way or the coaches. And so we work hard with our coaches to make sure that we are, respectful and kind with our umpires, but also with the parents. Just, encourage the kids. The umpires are going to be what they are. They usually only like an umpire if it goes our way. If it doesn't go our way, people typically don't like the umpire. And so I just want to encourage you, like, just go with the assumption that you're probably not going to like the umpire, and then just enjoy coaching, enjoy cheering on the kids the best you can in that situation. Please don't be a umpire um, critique and try to get them and yell at them and all those sorts of things. They're doing the best they can, and none of them have an issue with Grand Rapids Christian. They're just trying to officiate the game. And I can tell you when I umpired sometimes teams that struggled to pitch, I would expand the strike zone to a extended size, which some parents didn't appreciate, but we have to keep the game moving. So the subjective nature of balls and strikes, please understand there's probably a reason that guy is or that female umpire is allowing a bigger strike zone, and don't give them a hard time about it or why they're narrowing it up, right? When I had a great pitcher, I would narrow it up. When I was umpiring for somebody who I was like, man, we just need to get some strikes here, it would get a little bit bigger. So just know that they're doing that too. Okay. So those are just a couple words about umpires. Be kind. Make sure that when people leave a Grand Rapids Christian game, they feel like, man, I really, really like to umpire at a Grand Rapids Christian game. If you can handshake them or give them a high five or just say thanks, even if they're terrible, thanks for being here so we could have a game. I think that leaves the sort of impression, and I don't know if it really helps that person, but it does help you to keep that focus on your heart and your actions when you're looking to be a positive influence on a person, regardless of how well they performed as an umpire. So thanks for considering that. Working with Coach Kent is great. Darren is mostly nice, from my understanding. Mayford is a great guy, and Ellie is a new coach for us who's going to be fantastic. We have wonderful coaches that have a heart for our kids. Please treat them with respect and love them well. Thank them for their time. Some of these people are volunteers, and so just give them the benefit of the doubt that they're doing their best to serve your child well. Ask them questions if you have questions, and be kind with them and trust them. An attitude of gratitude for their service is a great place to start our interactions with them and put Christ on display. And just a reminder, just be your best with them all the time. And if your kids have questions about it or whatever, encourage them to talk to one of the coaches about it. I mean, seventh and eighth grade is a great opportunity to start teaching the messy way that it is for a kid to try to learn how to talk to an adult about something. And so this is a great place to experiment and learn some of those skills and coach your child through that if they want to talk to coach, whether it's what they can get better at, or if they want to try to play more or play a new position or have a question about why they're at a certain spot in the lineup. Coach them well how to have that conversation. Now is the time to practice those adult conversations before they become more real as we step up the grade levels in the years. So hopefully that's some good encouragement for you on how to work with your coaches. But that's kind of the basics of what I have for us today. I want to leave some time and space for people to ask questions about softball for our program. Do we have anyone in this meeting who is their first organized softball experience? Okay. Okay. Good. That's great. Coach has been doing some preseason meetings that maybe you've been able to go to just kind of learn some basics before you get to like the real season. And I believe that there's another one tomorrow and then two more the week before the season starts. And I'd encourage you, if you're new, go there, meet the coach, see the other kids, learn a couple of things before it becomes like the real season, and just start to figure it out. They do a great job of teaching all levels, and I think that's really important. Our softball program is on the rise, which is really exciting. We have more girls in the high school than we've ever had. We really need a couple more, and we can have a full JV schedule and a full varsity schedule, which is critical. Like when your child comes from eighth grade into ninth grade, it's not best for them to play against 18-year-olds, right? It's better for them to play against ninth and 10th graders that are their age for those 2 years before they get to that varsity step as they continue to learn and develop. And we are potentially this year going to have a JV team for the first time. So I want to encourage everybody in this meeting, encourage your friends to play, keep playing. And then the last thing I want to say before we go, if there's no questions, is look at your local Little League. Okay. Southern Little League has teams that play against other Little Leagues. That's super important. Look into club softball opportunities because our season's pretty short. It's done, like in the beginning of May-ish. And you've still got all of May and June that softball is being played, where this is a great intro opportunity, gets you a lot of reps early on before those leagues really begin and kick off. So I'd encourage you today to go and look for those leagues, and I would encourage you to get started in softball. It is not hard for a school to go from like, a bad school to a medium school if the kids just play some extra softball. And for us, we're in the middle of the pack, and it's not going to take a lot for us to find that upper echelon if we can just keep our girls playing and being involved in softball. We are on the cusp of that. And so my encouragement to you is go find another league to play in this year. Develop the love. There is less and less girls playing softball, which means the ascent for us to just be successful and have more success as a softball program is right there for us to take. All we have to do is go grab it. And so that's my encouragement, is find another team, not just ours, especially if you're sixth grade and you might only get 2 or 3 games this year as an individual sixth grader. Make sure that you take those experiences against these older kids, but also go find a league for softball and get involved in that between May and June as well. You will not regret it. I can tell you that. So make sure you do that. Any questions for me before I let you guys go?
Kevin, can you talk about what, especially for new people, but maybe for all of us to hear, what gear, including like socks and pants and things, cleats, people should have and what school will be providing?
We will provide a jersey, and we will provide the opportunity to purchase a visor. I think we do that every year. If and the visor looks like this right here. I don't know if you can see it or not. It's not required gear, but it's available. So those are things that the school will offer. Coach will talk to you about, are we always going to wear black pants or are we going to wear gray pants? He'll decide that. Darren, do you remember what we typically wear?
I think we've done black pants mostly,
I think
right?
it's mostly just been solid black pants. And so, yeah, you'll need a glove, right? Obviously, you need a glove. Infielders, we have some of those face masks that infielders can wear and pitchers can wear. And I think we have like 6 or 8 of those now. I've bought a bunch of them over the last few years to keep in our dugout there. So coach has a bunch of those, but certainly it's a little bit of a personal item too, like it's on your face. So if you want to purchase one, you can. They're not too expensive. You can find them on Amazon pretty easily. But if you're going to be an infielder, I think it's a great It's a great thing to have. So we have a bunch of those in case you don't want to purchase one that you can use and, just put like they can just kind of disinfect it or whatever before they
Put your
get
name on
used.
it.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Put your name on it. Yeah. So yeah, we have those items for you, but cleats are good. They can't be metal. They have to be molded cleats. And that helps you just with running and the traction on the dirt and in the grass. So, finding some cleats that new to you or played against sports is always good. My family lives off those sorts of stores. We don't buy anything new for our children because they go through it so fast. So, that would be my advice on cleats. Pants, you can also find those at Played Against Sports are pretty cheap on Amazon. And then if you want to buy a visor, I think they're $20. When I send that sign up out, you can. It's not required. You don't have to do that. Okay.
Will there be a catcher's glove and catcher's gear for people who end up in that position?
Yeah, I believe we have a set or two of that at the dugout already that Kent is in charge of. So if for some reason we don't, I mean, we can order another one. I have extra sets of gear that are baseball oriented, which is pretty much the same. I don't know, the glove is maybe not the same, but the gear is pretty much the exact same. So we do have plenty of gear if we need more than just the set or two that we have. And if we need to get a glove for the program, I'm certainly happy to buy a glove if we don't have one. Mhm.
Great.
Any other questions? Okay. Well, Coach, I think he has everybody on the Team Snap already. Is that correct? Account? Is he emailing through TeamSnap already? Have you guys seen that as reminders? So you should be able to communicate with him through there. If you have a specific question for me, don't hesitate to reach out. You all have my email address and you also know where my office is. So feel free to connect with me. But I'm looking forward to a great year. I'm really excited. We have so many kids interested in softball. It's great for the health of our program. And like I said, we are right on the edge of being one of those teams that can always compete at the high school level. So it just takes our middle schoolers to continue to invest. The best programs at Grand Rapids Christian Athletics are programs that have parents and kids that are doing a little bit extra outside the school season. So, find a league to get in and keep playing the game, especially you sixth graders. Make sure you find a league outside of this so that you are ready to go for next year when you are the prime players at seventh and eighth grade. Thank you so much. And you are welcome to go. If you want to stay out and ask me a question, I've got a couple more minutes. Thanks.
Thank you,
Thank
Kevin.
you.
Thanks, Kevin.
Thanks, Kevin.